Hi, everybody. I'm Candid Frank. He's Aaron William Freeland. We hope you're having a nice summer day, and I hope your week's gone well, and hopefully everything is the way you need it to be, and you've gotten a chance to take your holidays. August is the month where the people keep pushing and pushing their holidays, and then all of a sudden push comes to shove, and the people who tried to take summer holidays in the summer are now in the dog days of August taking their summer holidays. And usually the majority of people go on their holidays in August for that very reason. I don't know about you, Aaron.
Yeah, I tried to get stuff done earlier in the year, but unfortunately, certain things cropped up and things kept getting pushed. So I may end up taking my summer vacation in September instead. But gotta try to get myself down to try to get myself down to less than 10 days to carry over. Otherwise, I lose them.
That's my point. It's getting to that point, and then usually if people have 2 weeks holidays, they'll take one in the summer, one in the winter, and then if you don't take it in the summer, you end up having to take two in the winter. And to be honest, for most people who aren't cash strapped but do have limited income, it's much cheaper to go on vacation in the summer than it is in the winter, because the choice is in the winter. And with the falling out of grace by Florida with Canadians, that makes it interesting as far as where they're going to go. They know they're going to have to get on an airplane, because I don't think many people are driving to Mexico.
No, not these days.
I don't think so. You're not crossing that Mexican border in your car. That's looking for trouble. Sorry, Mexico. Didn't mean to do that. It just happened. All right, let's speaking of just happened, something just happened. The Raptors lost their last player from 2019, the 2019 championship. Tell us about it, Aaron.
So everybody knows that the Raptors NBA Finals run was one of the most iconic championship runs in recent memory. Kawhi Leonard was traded to the Raptors in the 18 offseason, adding a player with championship experience. He left after just one season in Toronto. Players slowly kept losing the team through trades and other transactions. But up until yesterday, one player from the championship team still remained, and that was Chris Boucher. As of Tuesday, ESPN's Shams Charania has reported that Chris Boucher was signing a one-year deal with the Celtics. Boucher spent the last 7 years with the Raptors, including his first season in 2018-19 when they won it all. He was never a consistent starter. He was always more of a role player, a bench player. But his role increased in the seasons following when they won the title. He finished 8th in Sixth Man of the Year voting in 60 games in 2020, 2021. He averaged 13.6 points, 6.7 rebounds, and 1.9 blocks in an average of 24.2 minutes played. He was a stalwart and a dependable player for the Raptors 905. But he was also the last Raptor to leave.
And
I'm sorry?
And a Canadian.
Yeah. So, after they traded away OJ Anunoby and Pascal Siakam in 23-24, he was the last one there. He's going to need to have a career type year because the Celtics have an opening for minutes this season amongst their bigger players. So this is a great opportunity for him to get back onto the floor.
Yep, a Montreal native, great player, champion as well. Now, he wasn't, as you said, he wasn't in the forefront of that championship team, but he filled a role. And we've learned in sports, in every sport, that there's room for role players. Role players have a purpose. Role players are necessary. They may not be the be or end all on a team, but they do contribute. Let's talk about contributing to her reputation tonight in the semifinal in the NBO Open. We have Victoria Mboko. My goodness, the first Canadian woman her age to get this far, 18.
Yeah, she was a wild card entry in the National Bank Open. She's from Toronto. She's 18 years old. And, she's going to be playing at IGA Stadium. She's going to be playing Elena Rybakina of Kazakhstan on center court at IGA Stadium. She's only the third wildcard player to reach the Canadian semifinals and the first since Bianca Andreescu's title run in 2019. She's also the youngest woman to reach the semis since Belinda Bencic's 2015 win in Toronto. Now, she started the year ranked outside the top 300. By the end of the NPO, will be ranked in amongst the top 50 because of that. Now, she beat number 79 ranked Kimberly Burrell, 23 seeded Sophia Cannon, 39th ranked Maria Buzkova, and top seed Coco Gauff. That's a match that lasted, surprisingly, only 62 minutes. Literally cleaned house. She beat Jessica Buzos Monero 6-4, 6-2 in the quarterfinals on Monday, setting the stage for tonight. Now, Rybakina on the other side of the coin, beaten Boko 6-3, 7-5 in last month's City DC Open. But a lot has gone right for Victoria since then. The other semifinals between Clara Tosin of Denmark and Naomi Osaka of Japan.
Absolutely. Let's go over to the Canadian Football League. And the Argos made a trade for a running back, or at least the rights to a running back. I assume they have a good idea that they'll be able to sign him. They need a running game. They have not had it this year with any kind of consistency. The irony is the two running backs in Saskatchewan were both the recent A running backs for the Argos. Carey got hurt in the last game. So, there's not that to think about, but the Argos now, I just hope that for Argo fans' sake, that they find some money, not just to find a player, but to find a player worth the money they pay him. And they find a little bit of money to get a quality running back, because this team has lost too many games because of a lack of that part of their game.
Yeah, and the problem they have as well is their most expensive asset is currently on the 6-game injured list. And he's not due back until week 15 or 16 of the season, I think, at this point.
Well, that's if the 6th game is the prediction, right, of his return.
Yeah.
He could come earlier, and he may not come then. You really don't know. That injury, as I've said all along, is one that is a long time getting better from. And then when you're ready to play, you wait another week. That's just the kind of injury that one is. It's just that kind of injury.
Now, the good news is they did get his playing rights in exchange for a conditional 8th round pick in 2026. So that at least is a little bit away. But Brown's a 6-foot, 220-pound player, signed with the Elks in June after attending training camp with Hamilton in May. He's the only player in Conference USA history to be named Conference USA Championship Game MVP twice, in 2018 and 2020, after rushing for a total of 295 yards and 1 touchdown. He signed with the Panthers coming out of school in 2021 and spent 3 years with the NFC South organization before signing with Atlanta in 2024 and then coming to the CFL. So the Argos also announced yesterday that they've signed Ryan Sevier and Penny Boone and Brandon Kemp. They also announced the release of American linebacker Jarrett Martin. So, they're setting themselves up now for what they need to do. And he's part of the puzzle pieces that they're putting together to try to put on a bit of a last season push to try to get into the playoffs, or at least make it look respectable.
August is the month where the teams understand their needs when injuries become a big factor. And also the needs that they have are ones that are becoming clear because the players they have aren't fulfilling those needs. And that's essentially what ends up happening at this time. And you can see, by example, the Toronto Argonauts have reached into training camp rosters, signings, and they end up with a running back they're hoping they can work with. And essentially, the question really is, can they find a running back that can play in the Canadian Football League? They have not been able to do that this year. And that's something unusual for them, Aaron. They're doing it. They're going to try and do it one more time. Let's go to the Red Blacks and let's talk about defensive lineman Eric Black.
So they announced Tuesday that they added American lineman Eric Black to the practice roster. Most recently with the Roughies during the 25 preseason, Black appeared in 2 games with the Riders last season. He also suited up twice for the Elks, recording 4 defensive tackles and a pair of special teams tackles. He's from Rochester, New York. He's played 11 games for Stony Brook in 22. He made 19 tackles then, 7 tackles for loss and 5 sacks, and spent a lot of time at U Buffalo. So they've also, to make room for him, they have also released national offensive lineman Dayton Black from their rosters. So Eric Black is in, and Dayton Black is out.
Okay, well, I hope he wears the same number. No, anyway, I'm just kidding. The Ticats have had a flurry of signings this week.
Yeah, they signed American running back Kevin Brown and Canadian long snapper Simon Chavez. Brown played 3 games with the Argos this season, recording 18 carries for 37 yards and a touchdown. He's 5'9", 205 from South Carolina. Chavez is joining the Ticats after a stint also with the Argonauts. He spent time with the Red Blacks in 23, 24, and 25, as well as the Elks in 24 and the Blue Bombers in 22. He played 33 games at University of Guelph between 2017 and 23. So these are interesting picks, more depth to shore everything up. But the team has also, Ticats have also announced they've released DB Brandon Dozier. Dozier signed with the Ticats in April after 7 years of CFL experience, including stops in Montreal, BC, and Calgary.
Let's talk about the Owls. They bring back DB Ciante Evans, and they add 3 more, so they've been busy as well.
Yeah, I think they're trying to address a lot of injury concerns that have cropped up for them lately. Not surprising. We are getting past the halfway mark of the season here. So they've added Ciante Evans and Brendan Dandridge. They've also added American DB Don Callis and American linebacker Caleb Johnson. Evans is returning to the Alouettes for a 3rd stint after having been with them in 2019 and 2023. He's been in the CFL since 2015. He's also played for the Stamps, Ticats, and Lions. Dandridge spent 5 seasons with the Red Blacks. He was named the East Division All-CFL team in 2023. Callis was on the Alouettes practice roster in 25. He was originally with Troy University in 23 and produced 26 tackles and 1 sack. And last but not least, Johnson was part of the Alouettes roster in 25, the practice roster. He signed with the Arlington Renegades in November. In 2025, he made 19 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, and 1 sack in 10 games. So, they're shoring themselves up with additional depth, and I can see why they're doing that. This particular part of the season is difficult on everybody, just because there's a lot of stuff that crops up that you didn't necessarily anticipate.
Well, it appears let's hover around the Blue Jays for a little while, and let's talk about the Colorado Avalanche of runs. Okay, we're talking Blue Jays.
That's well done there. So for those of you who don't have it on in the background, the Blue Jays just wrapped up their game against the Colorado Rockies and sweeping the series. They won the 3rd game of the series 20-1. They won the rubber match yesterday 10-4, and they won the series opener 15-1. So that, for those of you who can add, that is outscoring the Rockies 45-6.
I won't check. But what I will say is this: they were there was the last run of games that they were not doing well. They were outscored something like 35-12 or something. They were a minus 35. Well, they made up for that in one series. If one thinks of scoring more runs and allowing less is important. They've I don't think it's an accident, Aaron. Let's be clear. And I don't want to sound like an excuse maker, but they're getting players back. They're getting their catcher back. And Springer's on his way back. They're getting a lot of players back who were injured. And Varsho, for example, came back. What's the first thing he does? He hits a home run in his first game back. This is what the Blue Jays do. They've done a great job. The organization has done a great job. Critics like myself and anybody else who's criticized them have wondered about how the theme that they carry into a season and during a season. And right now, what it looks like is they've figured out the most important part about baseball in the regular season: hitting and scoring runs. Now, they've got some pitchers that they brought in, and they're hoping, that their closing is going to be a little better than it's been through the season. You get away with it during the season, but in the playoffs, baby, you're up against some really good hitting teams, because teams that make it to the playoffs, and because it's not like other sports, it's not an open invitation to the playoffs. You really have to earn getting in the playoffs. It's a special feat to make it to the playoffs. So the odds are very good that you're going to run against a good team. So we'll see. Right now, their hitting is awesome. They're right now, their closers are doing a pretty good job, but we'll see if this is the lineup that finally gives Toronto baseball fans a chance to cheer into the playoffs outside of a wild card game. You know, the games that really, really matter, where you're not playing in, where you're in the playoffs because you've earned your spot. In this case, first place would be an awesome way to go. They look really powerful, Aaron, and they loved Colorado. The big field there is made for that team. It's made for that team.
Oh, 100%. These guys love to go long, and the fact that, they're up where they are, I hesitate to say that the atmosphere is a part of it, but it does make it easier to get the balls out of the park. Bichette had 2 homers and 6 RBI in the 15-1 game. Ernie Clement had a career best 5 of Toronto's 25 hits. Eric Lauer allowed 1 run in 6 innings and gave up 7 hits with a walk and 4 strikeouts. You look at the next game. Varsho gets 6 RBIs in a 10-4 win over the Rockies. He hit a pair of 2-run home runs and a 2-run double. Varsho homered after Alejandro Kirk's 2-out single off Anthony Molina in the 4th to give them a 3-2 lead. Guerrero and Assis and Barge are both homered for the 17th time, hitting back-to-back shots to lead off the 6th. And then you look at the 20-1 win this afternoon, which just finished. The Colorado Rockies jumped out to a 1-0 lead in the first, but Toronto got 3 runs in the 3rd, 3 runs in the 5th, 4 runs in the 6th, 2 runs in the 8th, and 8 runs in the 9th to seal the win. This is just an absolutely dominant performance. Now, admittedly, the Colorado Rockies are 30-84, and the Blue Jays are 68-48. But at the same time, you got to take advantage when you can, build confidence, build that momentum when you're heading towards the postseason.
Well, we both know there are no guaranteed wins in sports.
No.
And a lot of times, the big plays that you're trying to make or the big moves you're trying to make in the standings, you trip over the teams you shouldn't. And it's important for the Jays to play their best every time and play like their opponent, respect their opponent. And as much as the end of the game gives the impression they don't respect their opponent, it's not because they didn't respect them when the game started. And that's the key, is to play and respect your opponent. Let's go over to the National Hockey League and the Montreal Canadiens. If they make a couple of right moves here, they've got some trade bait. They've got some defensemen, Aaron. This is a Montreal team that could, when we talk about fighting for first place in the Eastern Division, we've learned that it isn't that meaningful. It isn't that meaningful to finish first because Florida is a playoff team. But having said that, the Montreal Canadiens, if they make a couple of good moves, they're going to be a reason why the Leafs don't make the playoffs along with Ottawa. It's going to be a very interesting season. Montreal now is in the position the same way the Leafs were. They've got a full-on young talent on board that if they take advantage and they don't allow great players to leave, they've got a good chance to make a run at a Stanley Cup. I really believe that.
Oh, honestly, the hallmark of Montreal teams have been their blue line. It's been shutdown defense. It's been their ability to stifle opponents' zone entries. It's been their ability to get the puck out quickly. But with the Canadiens having so many NHL defensemen and promising prospects, there are a few defensemen that could potentially be on the way out. There is a decent chance that one of Mike Matheson, Arbor Jacki, or Jaden Struble may no longer be with the Canadiens by the end of next season. And that would be to make room for guys like David Reinbacher and Adam Engstrom. There's a good chance that those guys might not be there because they've been banking heavily on Reinbacher to be a big part of the future for the Canadiens. And
the Nazem Kadri up front.
Exactly. When you look at the list of players, Matheson stands out as the most notable. He's 31 now. He's been part of the Canadiens blue line since his arrival, but he's also pending UFA. There's also some risk in moving on from Jacki or Struble as they're young defensemen with good upside. But if they do end up moving away from them, those are the three most likely candidates. Now, the other thing that they've done is they've added by bringing in Noah Dobson from the New York Islanders at the start of July. So that's another thing that they have going for them.
They've got a really good core of defensemen there. They really do. And they're puck-moving defensemen, which is something that the Edmonton Oilers established as a great idea going into the playoffs when they made their trades at the end of the season that brought in, instead of stay-at-home tough defensemen, they brought in mobile defensemen who moved the puck. Let's go over to the Sens and let's talk about Tkachuk.
This is an interesting one. It kind of caught my eye. I don't play NHL 26. I don't own a gaming system like that. But whoever gets the cover is usually the playoff MVP. In a rather different version this year of the cover, the NHL 26 Deluxe Edition is going to feature Ottawa Sens captain Brady Tkachuk, along with his brother Matthew, who's just won his second cup, and their father Keith, who appears to have been significantly de-aged for the photo that's with the article. I'm not sure how or why they decided to do this, but I guess it's one of those things where they just kind of figured, you know what, let's cash in. They're an American family. 2 out of the 3 played for American market teams. Let's see if we can't cash in on the notoriety that comes along with the Tkachuk name. So, hey, for those of you that buy it, let me know how it plays.
Let's talk about the Flames, and they've got a young stud who may be a future centerpiece.
Now, there's always questions when it comes to projecting how NHL centermen are going to do, especially when they're under 6 feet. Now, Cole Reshney clocks in at 5'11" and 183 pounds. He's from Macklin, Saskatchewan. He doesn't carry the size of a prototypical first-line center. Those guys are the guys you expect to be 6'2" and up. But drafted 18th overall by the Flames, Reshney is continuing to prove that his intangibles outweigh his size. He lined up for the top line center for Team Canada at the 2025 World Junior Summer Showcase in Minneapolis. He finished the week with a goal and 3 assists in 4 games, and basically showed everybody why the Calgary front office picked him. He's just 18 years old, so there's a lot of future here. They picked him up off a breakout season with the Victoria Royals, where he racked up 92 points in 62 games, including 26 goals and 66 assists. So, that kind of production speaks volumes, and Hockey Canada was definitely listening to that. There has been some debate about his size. Again, he is on the smaller side, but I think that what else that he brings to the game is more important.
I think size does matter, and it's become, along with Florida's cup runs, has come the physicality involved in winning a Stanley Cup. Let's go over to the Maple Leafs. We'll talk about them for a bit. They sign their defenseman, William Villeneuve. Interesting pickup. You think this guy has a shot to get called up by the Leafs at some point?
Very realistically, yes. The past couple of seasons, I've had the opportunity to watch him play with the Marlies. He's a very dependable, at least at the AHL level, he's a very dependable puck-moving defenseman. He's coming off his best season with the Leafs. He put up 40 points, 4 goals and 36 assists in 55 games for the Marlies. He was picked in the 4th round, 122nd overall in the 2020 draft, and he's only 23 years old. So, as we know, defensemen tend to mature at a slightly slower rate. Goalies mature at an even slower rate. But after Topi Niemela, his game suffered a little bit. Villeneuve began getting more and more time on the team's top power play. 15 of his 40 points last year came on the man advantage. So, there is the possibility here that he could potentially be used to anchor B2. He's the kind of guy at the back there. Dude has an absolute nail gun from the point. So it's valuable. He can keep it low. He can get it through traffic in the net. We'll see what happens.
We definitely will see what happens. That's a for sure. Aaron, also, we've got a few other signings. In fact, Alex Nylander's his brother. His sibling is what I wanted to say. signed.
William Nylander's brother Alex is actually back with the Marlies. He's not going to be playing with the Leafs. It's a 1-year AHL only contract. The same goes for Luke Granger and Brandon Baddock. Braddock has recorded 1 goal in 7 games with the Marlies this past season after being acquired from the Ice Hogs on March 14th. Granger had 7 games with the San Jose Barracuda, had a goal in that time. He's also skated in 36 games and had 9 goals and 12 assists with the Wichita Thunder of the ECHL. Nylander had 64 games with the Marlies this past season. He had 44 points. That's 23 goals and 21 assists. He also appeared in 5 games with the Leafs. In 126 career NHL games so far, he's had 49 points, 25 goals, and 24 assists. It's possible that we could see him up with the Leafs at some point. I would find it interesting to see if he'd be playing alongside Willie.
Now, to do that, he'd have to sign an NHL contract.
Yeah, I'm gonna recheck. I'm gonna just recheck his his contract here. I have a feeling that it may have been misreported on the Marlies website. We'll just take a look here, though.
Well, it suggests that, to me, while you do that, it suggests to me the Leafs are sending him a clear message. You haven't done enough to prove that you can play in the NHL. We'll give you an NHL contract.
Yeah, it's showing currently as a 1-year, $775,000 contract, which expires next season. I'll dig into it a little more, but it looks like it's a standard contract.
It's quite possible, but it is what it is.
Yep.
In conclusion, anything else you want to add?
No, you know what? At this point, I'm just hoping that the Argonauts play well on Saturday. They've got an afternoon game against the Red Blacks at 3 o'clock.
That is a game that's important to only Ottawa and Toronto, but it's very important for those 2 teams. The other teams in the Eastern Division aren't sweating which one of these teams wins this game. It's an either or. It's pick your poison. But in the case of Toronto and Ottawa, for as hard as it has been to win a game, this is one game they want to win. This is one of those 4-pointers, and it's much bigger than a 4-pointer.
So at this point here, I know that the first 3 teams are Saskatchewan, Calgary, and Winnipeg, and they're 7-1, 5-3, and 4-3 on the western side. Hamilton's 6-2, Montreal is 5-3. If Toronto then gets to 3-6, that would put them ahead of Ottawa, but still potentially victim to the crossover, correct?
Absolutely. Okay. Well, what has to happen, Aaron, in the crossover? The East, if the team coming from the other conference that wants to cross over, that wants to take on the other conference's 3rd playoff spot, has to beat them outright. In other words, there's no tiebreaker. You have to win more games than the other team. Flat out. That's it. That's all. Tie goes to the home conference team.
And by home conference team, that then would be
if the Argos or Ottawa have an equal number of wins at the end of the season as the Western Conference team vying for a crossover, if they have the same or more wins, they're in.
Okay.
The Western team, to get into they have to win that other game. And of course, we know ties are possible, so they could end up with 1 point more and they would get in. So if they had a tie in their season games, then they would get in if that point puts them 1 more in front of the East. So yes, it's very likely at this point the Argos have to win at least 2 games, or Ottawa. And that's why this one is so important. You lose this one, you might end up at the end of this week needing to win 3 games before the end of the season to make the playoffs. And for as difficult as it has been for those 2 teams to win, you don't want to be in that position. But the good news is, if you're a fan of any team in the Canadian Football League, any playoff position means all you have to do is win 2 football games and you win the Grey Cup. So you see, the road to the playoffs is tough, but if you get there, the road to the Grey Cup is not that hard. You just have to win 2 games. I know that sounds like I'm BSing folks, but the history has shown that, how well you play in the season is irrelevant as long as you make it to the playoffs. And then when the playoffs come around, anything can happen depending on the momentum you have going in.
And that, I think, is as good a spot to leave it as any, Frank.
I will leave it there. Thanks, Aaron, for doing this. I really appreciate you and appreciate what you do. Thanks for doing this.
Thanks, Frank.
Okay, for Aaron William Freeland, I'm Candid Frank Stanishi. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. Have a great till.